Duluth, Minnesota is a harbor city that has long been the home to boats and ships carrying all manner of cargo. But just as important as the boats are the railroads in the area that move the cargo to them. In this program, we'll enjoy a piece of living history that gives a glimpse into the past and the importance of the railroads to the area. At the very western edge of Lake Superior, where Minnesota and Wisconsin come together, are the twin ports of Duluth, Minnesota and Superior, Wisconsin. Viewed from above, water dominates the scene. The aerial lift bridge separates the lake and the harbor, and Duluth itself clings to the hillside next to the lake. There are a multitude of docks and silos and large vessels seemingly everywhere, from the BNSF docks in Superior to the CN docks in Duluth, vessels being fueled, and some just waiting to get into port. Since the Great Lakes are connected to the St. Lawrence Seaway, the Twin Ports are in fact the westernmost port of the Atlantic Ocean, and one can often see ships from distant lands passing under Duluth's aerial lift bridge. Here we see the Ursula from Croatia. This vessel was built in 1996 and is 656 feet long. She's arriving to load grain for export. The ship and the bridge exchange horn salutes. Ocean ships like the Ursula ride much higher in the water on the Great Lakes because they are designed to sail in salt water. Even though this is for all intents and purposes an ocean port, the area is perhaps best known for its lake boats, such as the Arthur M. Anderson and the ore docks that load them with massive quantities of iron ore. This is only part of the story. Duluth was once dominated by U.S. Steel, at that time the largest company in the world. Located here was the U.S. Steel Duluth Works, which consisted of the steel mill and the nearby Universal Atlas cement plant owned by U.S. Steel. Northeast of Duluth is an area known as the Iron Range, where the iron ore came from these massive open-pit mines. And to keep the mines, docks, steel mill, and cement plant all connected, U.S. Steel had a railroad, the Duluth, Mesabi, and Iron Range, which connected the Iron Range to Duluth, as well as nearby Two Harbors and its ore docks. U.S. Steel and its plants are long gone from the area, and the railroad and ore docks are now part of Canadian National, which runs a modern, efficient operation. But for a couple of days, we were able to step back into the old times and get a taste of the era when this region depended on its local railroads to keep things moving. It's September the 6th, 2017, and we're at track level behind Duluth Union Depot, where we see Duluth, Mesabi, and Iron Range number 332 being steamed up for an interesting train tomorrow. We'll be seeing 332 in action and even riding her, so let's learn a little more about our locomotive. This 280 type steam locomotive was built in 1906 by the American Locomotive Company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the Duluth, Mesabi, and Northern, which primarily transported ore between the Duluth docks and the Iron Range. In 1937, the DM&N merged with the Duluth and Iron Range to form the Duluth, Mesabi, and Iron Range, and 332 continued working for the new system. In 1955, she was sold to the Duluth and Northeastern and was given the new number of 28. She last ran in regular service in 1965 and was donated to what is now the Lake Superior Railroad Museum in 1974. Duluth Union Depot, built in 1892, is the home for the museum. Inside, occupying the former platform area of the old train station, are a multitude of exhibits showing the progression of rail technology over the years here in the North Country.
Number 227 was one of 18 Yellowstone-type Mallet locomotives built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works for the Mesabi Road during World War II years 1941 and 1943. During her 20-year operating life, she hauled over 40 million long tons of iron ore from the mines of the Mesabi and Vermilion Ranges to the docks at Duluth and Two Harbors.
Outside at track level are several operational locomotives that serve as living exhibits. Tomorrow, we'll get to see this living museum at its finest as we step back in time for a few hours. September 7th finds not only the 332 under steam, but DM&IR diesels number 316 and 193 are in operation as well. .332 will be pulling DM&IR ore cars, and the two diesels a special DM&IR passenger train. 332 is backing out of the museum onto the North Shore Scenic Railroad, which is operated by the museum. She'll pick up her train, and shortly we'll see something that hasn't been witnessed in decades. We're also underway aboard our special passenger train. Let's look at how the railroading in the area once looked like and get a preview of our route to Two Harbors. We're in the northern U.S. state of Minnesota. The twin ports of Duluth and Superior are at the far western edge of Lake Superior and serve as the westernmost port of the Atlantic Ocean. The focal point for the entire area is Duluth's aerial lift bridge, which connects downtown with Minnesota Point and is the boundary between Lake Superior on the east side and the harbor on the west. Moving to the other side of the harbor, we see the one-time Great Northern Railway docks. These docks were once a beehive of activity. Docks 1, 2, and 4 still exist, but have long been closed. Dock 3 is gone, only the concrete pad at the front still remains. Now owned by the BNSF Railway, Dock 5 is still in service, loading lake boats with taconite ore pellets from a conveyor. A short distance away are the remains of the Northern Pacific's massive ore dock. It's now part of a marina that says it can store a boat of any size. Moving back towards Duluth, we see St. Louis Bay, which is the outlet of the St. Louis River. This area was once crisscrossed by railroad lines and swing bridges, which are now gone. They include the Great Northern's Interstate Bridge, which also carried automobile traffic, and the Northern Pacific's St. Louis Bay Bridge, which featured 2 swing spans. A short distance up the St. Louis River is the Grassy Point Swing Bridge, the last one in use in the area. On the Duluth side of the harbor are the DM&IR ore docks, now owned by Canadian National. At one time, these docks were also very busy, as seen here with both the old wooden docks in use as well as the 2 steel ones that are here today. Dock 5 on the left is no longer in use, while Dock 6 loads boats with the conveyor system and the traditional chutes. Moving downtown, we are in the one-time railroad district. The area where Interstate Highway 35 is now, as well as the entertainment district on the right side of the screen, was once entirely railroad and industrial. Moving in closer, we are in the station area. On the right, where Interstate 35 is now, was the Omaha Road Station. It was torn down in the early 1960s to make way for the highway. Union Depot is in the center, with the roof of the Lake Superior Railroad Museum covering the tracks. A block away are these high-rise apartments. But until 1972, this was the site of the Soo Line station, Duluth at one time being served by a multitude of passenger trains. Our train will back out of the station to connect to the only active track remaining in the downtown area, a short segment of track that was built by the St. Paul and Duluth Railway in 1886. The St. Paul and Duluth later became part of the Northern Pacific. We'll stop at the old Fittger's Brewery, where we'll do some photo run-bys with the lift bridge in the background. Shortly beyond Fittger's, we pass through what was once the town of Indian, although it has long been part of Duluth. This was milepost 0 of the Duluth and Iron Range Railroad. The D&IR had a station located here. Indian Station was relocated to Canal Park, where it can still be seen today. We're headed toward Two Harbors, roughly 28 miles east of here. Just to the west of Palmer's is this neat pond, and we'll see some scenes of the train here. Shortly east of the siding at Palmer's is the bridge over the Little Sucker River. We'll see some run-bys as the train passes near the community of Knife River. Just west of Two Harbors is the siding at Marbles. We'll spend some time here for our trains to do some switching. Just east of Marbles, CN's Iron Range division passes overhead. This line provides a more gentle gradient away from Lake Superior than the direct line through Two Harbors. Two Harbors is still a very active yard as the ore docks are very busy here with trains constantly coming and going to serve them. Just east of the yards and docks is the former Duluth and Iron Range passenger depot, which is as far as the North Shore Scenic Railroad operates. Moving over to the harbor, there are still 3 docks, 1 and 2 on the left, and Dock 6 on the right. Number 6 was last used in 1969 and is disconnected. Two Harbors is still very much a railroad and port community today. We're back in Duluth as our passenger train is starting on its way to Two Harbors. On the right is the former flagship of the U.S. Steel Great Lakes Fleet, the William A. Irvin, now a museum. We're a short distance past the Irvin and the Lift Bridge, and the 332 is stopped for the first run-by at the old Fitger's Brewery, now a brew pub, hotel, and restaurant complex. We have a DM&IR steam locomotive pulling a string of DM&IR empty ore cars, the first time such a sight has been seen here since the 1950s. There were no further run-bys planned in Duluth, so let's enjoy some of the ride aboard the passenger train as we traverse the one-time main line of the Duluth and Iron Range, also called the Lakefront Line, as we go east out of town. At Palmer's, we stop for each train to do run-bys. Immediately east of Palmer's is the bridge over the Little Sucker River. We're at the siding at Marbles, our locomotives having swapped trains. The plan was to now do run-bys with the diesels on the ore train. We're on board the passenger train and the steam locomotive is on the front as we travel to Two Harbors where we will turn around. Just past this railroad crossing, Ownership of the line transfers to Canadian National. Despite repeated tries, they ignored our request to exercise our trackage rights and go into the depot and turn around. Eventually, the diesels and ore train were sent on to Duluth without us, and we backed our way there doing run-bys along the way. Even though today didn't go as planned, we recorded some great steam railroad action. Let's see what tomorrow brings. September 8th finds a different train pulling into the station area in Duluth. And our engine is not DM&IR 332, but Duluth and Northeastern 28. In 1955, the 332 was sold to the Duluth and Northeastern. She ran in regular service until 1964 and was used by the railroad for special occasions and as a shop boiler until 1972, making her the last steam locomotive used in railroad service in Minnesota. For that reason, she's still painted as the 28, and that is the way the locals and museum personnel refer to her. The DM&IR lettering we saw yesterday was only temporary, so today we'll enjoy her running in the livery of the third railroad that owned her. We're back at Fitgers, and the weather is a little nicer here today. Today we have a mixed freight and passenger train, something that was once common in the steam era. At Marble Siding, our train stops, and today the 28 has been allowed into Two Harbors to turn around, but without the train, and thus leaves us behind. Two Harbors is an interesting place, so let's pay a visit and see what's there. Two Harbors, Minnesota was an important location for the DNIR, DM&IR, and now CN. Located here is the old Duluth and Iron Range Depot, the location where normal excursion trains stop for lunch. Adjacent to the depot is DNIR number 3. This little 260 was built in 1883. In 1899, she was sold to the Duluth and Northern Minnesota. In 1923, she was obtained for this display and has sat here ever since. The 1884 era wooden ore car and the 1893 caboose were placed on display here in 1934. Also on display nearby is DM&IR Yellowstone number 229. This 2884 locomotive was built in 1943 and was retired in 1962. She was placed on display here in 1969. A short distance away near the ore docks in Agate Bay is the Edna G, built in 1896 for the Duluth and Iron Range, and served here until 1981 when she was retired by the DM&IR, the last coal-fired steam tug on the Great Lakes. She is now a museum display. One can still see 3 ore docks in Two Harbors. Dock 1 on the right is set up exclusively to load lake boats with the old-style chutes. Dock 2 is set up for both chutes and conveyors. Dock 6 hasn't been used since 1969 and is in fact disconnected. Just like the DM&IR before it, CN is busy here bringing ore cars loaded with taconite ore pellets so they can be loaded onto the lake boats. Two Harbors is a busy port with boats coming in daily during the shipping season and sometimes several a day. Arriving here now is the Tim S. Duell, a Canadian-flagged vessel. Built in 1967 as the Cinnaville, she is 730 feet long. Her cargo capacity is 31,045 tons. In 1994, she was renamed the Algoville, and in 2008 she got her current name in honor of the former CEO of Algoma Central. She has 18 hatches and 6 cargo holds, one of which is set up as a tank to transport canola oil. She has bow thrusters and can usually dock herself without the aid of a tugboat. She's pulling into Dock 2, and the deckhands still follow the time-honored practice of being lowered onto the dock to tie up the vessel so it can be loaded. Once loading is complete, the Tim S. Duel will depart Two Harbors for one of the several steel mills along the Great Lakes. Number 28 has turned at Two Harbors and is returning for an afternoon of run-bys, this time facing southward. We're passing through Duluth's lakeside neighborhood, and we'll enjoy a ride in the cab of number 28 between here and downtown. arrived back at the museum, and our photo charter has concluded. But we're not done with number 28 yet. Next, we'll see how she really earns her living. We're down by the harbor beside the museum boat William A. Irvin as number 28 departs with one of the regularly scheduled excursion trains from here to Palmer's and back. At Palmer's, there's no way to turn the locomotive around, so she runs tender first on her way back to Duluth. Number 28 is arriving once again in downtown Duluth to wrap up our visit of steam railroading in the North Country. We're not quite done with our visit to Duluth. Even though our glimpse of the area's railroading past lasted only a couple of days, the business of shipping continues around the clock. We're at the Duluth Canal as the aerial lift bridge is opening up for the Edgar B. Spear in the wee hours of the morning. The Spear will berth at CN Dock Number 6, where she will be loaded with taconite ore pellets. She was built in 1979 and is 1,004 feet long. The Spear has 2 diesel engines generating 19,500 horsepower. She can carry 73,700 tons of cargo. That's a lot of rail cars. The railroads and the Great Lakes have been intertwined in this region for well over 100 years. Even though this is primarily a railroad program, it's fitting to close with a scene on the lake. Back in her day, Locomotive 332 carried countless loads of ore to the docks in Duluth and Two Harbors, filling vessels that traveled back and forth across the lakes and helped build a country.